standing and join in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if everyone would remain standing for a moment of silence for Nathan Lyons, one of our kids, a rising 8th grader who passed away last week. Thank you. So, oh gosh, I almost forgot. So I remind everyone that the meeting is being telecast and recorded on Channel 14. I also remind any member of the public who wishes to make an audio or video recording of the open session of this meeting to first notify me as the chair, and I will then inform the public of the recording as required by the open meeting law. So we'll start with public session and public comment. Please limit comments to 2 minutes per individual for any items that are not current on tonight's agenda. Is there any public comment? From our empty chairs. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session. To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. An open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining. It is expected that public session will resume.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Walter, will you start us off?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, we'll be back. Oh, good. I don't know what I was supposed to say.
Welcome back.
Yes. Okay. My gavel. So we'll resume open session, and we'll start with the presentation of the new website. Yay! Sharon, would you mind hitting the light so we can see it? Thanks.
Okay, so we have, as you can see, our new website went live in the afternoon, actually, of June 30th. And this really was something that Ryan has been working hard on all year long in migrating over content from our old site. The company that we had been hosting our website on was bought out by another company, and they also had acquired Schoolwise, which is the new platform we're using now. And the company we had, which was Edline, is slowly going away. As a matter of fact, Blackboard has been trying to really encourage folks to move over to its other platform because this one's just been having a lot of trouble. So we're happy to showcase this new website, and I will let Ryan take it from here.
All right, so the process really started way back at the beginning of the year. Cindy and I met with the Tech Advisory Board as well as administrators to kind of get a good feel for what was working with the site as well as where we wanted to go in terms of the design and the layout. We wanted to make something that was new and engaging, but also still easy to navigate. So still kept a lot of the same elements as before. We didn't want to remake the wheel from scratch, so to speak, but just wanted to go forward and make it a lot easier for people to kind of navigate. So for the past few weeks after we went and we had the template set up, which is the template is kind of the pretty parts around it that we're looking at right now. We worked with the company on that, and I've been working in the last few weeks to move over 1,500 pages from our old site to the new site, trying to keep things consistent. So the things that did change were the graphics, especially. Student photos, you can kind of see some of those right here. If anybody remembers, I just happened to run across this. These were pictures that were taken 2010. We still had them on the old site. They are gone now. We got new pictures. A lot from social media, a lot of people from around the schools, as well as I took some pictures to get some fresh faces on all of this stuff. Removed outdated content, tried to make sure everything that was on there was current for the most part, either refreshing it or just not bringing it over. I also went through and removed, or didn't remove, but replaced acronyms. They don't translate well. Half the ones I didn't even know. I mean, so DESE became Department of Secondary Education, RETEL, which I didn't know, Rethinking Equity and Teaching for English Language Learners changed, and CPR is not cardiopulmonary resuscitation, it's Coordinated Program Review. I think educators like acronyms almost as much as military and non-military families, so.
Yes.
And then going through and also just, it's a fresh start, so that means no broken links, no images are broken. I can go in and make sure, because I've literally touched every single page, hopefully I didn't mess too much up, that everything is kind of from scratch the way it is. So this new design that we have is responsive web design. It does a number of things for us. It's modern, it's a very modern web technology. If any of you have had the opportunity to go to the website on your phones or to with some sort of tablet like an iPad, you'll see that the site actually works well on all devices. Our old site really didn't. So right now, if I took this and I tried to make it smaller, you'll see all of a sudden the menu changes and it recomposes, and all of a sudden everything is now in one column, and I can go through and I can actually do stuff this way. So it is intelligent in terms of the page width, and it actually figures that stuff out on its own. It's also, because of the responsive design, accessible for visually impaired users, so people who are either having to navigate with their keyboard or even as far as having screen readers. This responsive design works well with that as well, so we're getting very close towards actually being fairly compliant with that. And then one of the other cool things too, which isn't necessarily perfect, but we can translate our website now to over 100 different languages. So if we wanted Portuguese, let me just keep scrolling down. It's machine learning. It's not exactly completely perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. So if I'm not a native English speaker, this goes through and does all of that right off the bat in over 100 different languages, which is great. It's a word-to-word translation, so it's a little bit, that. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys a little bit about the site. Like I said, there's over 1,500 pages, so there's a lot. We can't go through it all. But just like the main page being the landing page, we've got a lot of great information here. One of the things that I had done earlier in the year for FCTV is I went out to film some different projects that were going on in the district. So all these pictures that go along with stuff, if anyone clicks on those, it actually will go to a video that actually talks about one of the stuff that's going on. So this was Jane Baker's and one of the English classes. I forget which English teacher it was. I'm really sorry for whoever that was. For a trip that they had taken to Cuttyhunk Island, they had actually gone through and sketched or wrote poems about their experiences. So there's a number of these going on here, and I'm going to be adding more as the year progresses. Here's one on Project Adventure, so that kind of goes through and does a lot of stuff there. Under news, this is something that can be subscribed to. People have access to all that stuff here. Media, this is the school choice video I threw in from this year's school choice. And then there's some also quick links, which I'll be adding more in as we go through, things like athletic schedules and other stuff like that as well. And then we have the calendar, which right now it's not populated because we're kind of so far away from the school year, but there'll be calendar events and everything else that will show up over here on this side.
Excellent.
All right. Oh, and the quick links here will have different things up there. One of the other quick links is up here at the top. So this brings back our kind of traditional navigation from before, where we had different sections for different visitors. This one I've made a lot more visual than it was before. So right here for families, we have power school, bus schedules, lunch menus, all of that stuff kind of in a more visual format than it was before. I've also included links to all of the different PTO and other family school groups, all kind of on one same page. And that kind of goes through the same thing with staff. I made theirs smaller because they've got a lot more of stuff. But Google Apps for Education, our Gmail, is right just a click away that way. And then, so going to the school committee site, because you guys are here, I spent quite a bit of time on that. We've got all of the email information. Here's your last video from last school committee meeting right here. actually also as well. This is from the town side. I've been working with Sharon on that as well. We have agendas, the whole forms packets right there, and as the meetings are actually televised, you can actually watch the videos right from that link there. And then it's simple things too, like, so our meeting schedule now, there's a way that you can actually get all the PDFs are kind of inline so that you're able to actually view the stuff right through the site, and it actually works with a phone and stuff like that. So I can show you maybe one other school page too, so you can just kind of see the difference between the main district page and the high school page. So the navigation for that's up here at the top. This navigation stays the same no matter where you are on the school district. So lots more great photos, same thing there, information, contact information, and we've got kind of the same thing each for the school news, for more media, and that goes for each of the different grade, for the different schools as well. So this is still a work in progress. Obviously, it's going to be forever for the most part. Websites are a moving target. Definitely there's going to be changes, and I know there'll probably be some things here and there that we will need to change. If any of you do see anything that you see along the way that might not be quite right or you think might be better a certain way, I've already been taking some suggestions from teachers, and it's been great feedback. We welcome feedback, definitely. Please get in touch as much as you can. Definitely we want to try to make this as best of a website as we can for everyone. Going forward, we're thinking about adding some more stuff in terms of like the calendar apps, things like that. And down the road too, Blackboard has another integrated product that will tie in with the website, as well as our Connect, Blackboard Connect, which is like the phone messages. That will actually be something where we can have a phone app that families will be able to get, where they can get notifications and the calendar events, so it can be all kind of in one mobile platform, so people can kind of stay abreast of all the stuff that's going on with the schools, whether that's athletic schedules or calendar events that are going on, all sorts of great things like that. And then we'll be also doing some teacher training as well to get teachers up to speed to be able to do this. And it's so much easier to make websites that look good with this new product here, so I definitely think teachers will be excited to be getting involved with that.
That's awesome.
Anything on
I
that?
I think you need it all.
Any
Okay.
questions for Ryan? Leah? Then
So
Andrew.
I've got to say that I didn't realize that the new website was live, but I was navigating on my phone or on an iPad, and it was so friendly. Like, I was able to find everything, except for the Morris Pond graphic organizer for the reading.
Oh, for the summer
For the
reading?
summer reading. And I'm not sure if in the switch, if it didn't come on there, or I know
I'll
that's
have
really
to
being
go and look
nitpicky,
into
but I
it,
have a
yeah.
little girl who was looking for that. Couldn't find it.
suspect it's on the library site there,
Yep, it is
but-
on the library.
Okay.
On
The library,
Usually
Falmouth
the
Library has that on their site too.
No, they don't have it.
Oh, they don't have it this year?
No.
Oh, they usually have it.
I'll look.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
Andrea?
I have a couple questions, but it's thrilling that this is actually happening. It has happened, so thank you for doing all that. When you were talking about soliciting feedback, which is fantastic, do you have any plans for doing usability testing? To sit down with people and sort of a select number of individuals to watch them navigate to see where they might get hung up? You know, like I noticed there was a tab that said media, but you know, is that for people from the media, or you know, you see
Right.
that it is housing media, but when you sit down with people and you ask them a question, find the calendar, and if they're looking and they can't find it, then you know that, you know, we need to tweak labeling or things like that. So
Right, that's something definitely we should look into.
I think right now we're really in this transition stage still, even though a lot of content has migrated over.
Yeah.
We're still trying to clean up little areas that we find as we go along, and again, trying to help teachers with their web pages and their content, learn how to update their pages. And once we kind of get to a place where we're good, then we can look towards some usability feedback. We may also might want to wait until the integrated app is made available, because then we might be able to get feedback on both things.
yeah, that'd be great. And then it's really good too that you've updated those photos and the content. So is that something that you'll be staying on top of to keep that fresh, or is there a plan for how often that will be updated?
Typically, it's been to the schools to a certain point. We do have like a designated person in each school that does. I definitely will be as well. Part of the big push, I think, that's made things at least a little bit easier is Facebook really didn't, wasn't a big thing several years ago. Now people are going and getting the pictures for Facebook, so it was very easy to get the pictures. To just stay on top of that part of it is probably like the biggest hurdle. So
We've
hopefully
talked
it should
about
make that
loaner
easier.
cameras. We've talked about maybe having some nice loaner cameras that schools can utilize.
Okay. And can I just ask
Yeah.
one more? And you were talking about the readers and things like that, so, and that you're making progress toward becoming ADA compliant. So, but that there seemed to be a gap.
Well, mostly what it is right now is, it's not that the site's not ADA compliant, except some of the files that we have, the old way of doing it with scanning as a PDF, those aren't PDF accessible. So we're going to have to go and look and make sure all of those files are, and if they're not, it's an extra conversion with a piece of software. So that may take a little bit longer to get all of that. Some of them might be. I mean, if somebody were to save something as a PDF using something like Microsoft Word, that is usually done, that is usually an accessible PDF file. But if you're scanning it with a copier, it's an image, so the text isn't recognizable. And we wouldn't, unless we can go and start looking at every single document,
Right.
it's something that we are going to have to do over a period of time.
But the ones going forward will always be done in a way
Yes.
that's, yeah.
These are throwbacks from years and years ago, 100-page documents that no one has the original score anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Most of the site is already like completely compliant. I've run the tests and everything.
fantastic, great, thank you.
John, do you have something?
Yeah, just had kudos for both Ryan and Cindy, because a lot of times in situations like this with the existing host company changing hands or going down or whatnot, you'd have downtime, and you haven't had any of that, and you've done a great job utilizing that to take advantage of this transition to this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Leah?
I have just a follow-up question with the documents that you're referring to. So one piece I note is when you're attaching documents, you can't translate those documents, right? So you're attaching an English document, you'd also have to attach a Portuguese document or a
Right.
Spanish document. So would this enable it to be able to be translated also? This new way of having the text? No?
What we're looking at, no.
Okay.
Other than what's built in with the translation in the site.
Right.
The software we're looking at is an Adobe software that just translates the PDF that is a static image into a text readable version.
Okay, and it's
So
not able to be
it wouldn't allow us,
translated.
it wouldn't give us that translation, I don't believe. I mean, we've really been looking at it mostly from an ADA compliance standpoint, but, I mean, we'll look at that, but I don't believe that's gonna be one of the,
Yeah, I mean, if that's possible, that would be wonderful, because that's a big cost for districts, and it's also, making it accessible for all parents in all languages. Because those documents, yeah.
I always, when I do training, encourage people, make sure it's actually in a web format, and then at least it can be that it can be translated that way. The difficulty is, the formatting. Sometimes, like, you need to have PDFs to retain flyers and things like that, so that's
Right.
kind of the challenge.
At least with the really important documents, though, are translated, correct? Like things like do we, which types of documents, I guess it's a question, which types of documents would we be making available in Portuguese?
if
Like
it was given to us, we don't.
Not necessarily on the website, but I'm sure that that we offer some, like the handbook. Do we ever have the handbook in Portuguese? Or Spanish? I don't know.
The handbook on the front page tells parents or guardians that if you would like it translated, to let us know, because there are so many different languages and it's changing. Unfortunately, to have them all ready isn't possible. So if parents request it, we can have it done, and I think that's through the student service office.
So, but once it's done, it might be last year's handbook, but we would at least have one. I don't know. Sorry, I got
I
sidetracked.
think we talked about that with Christine
Christine, yeah.
Nicholson. more than once, how do we make sure that it's accessible to everyone?
Yeah, and having it on the website does enable that
Yeah.
to be accessible. And you said the company is Schoolwise, is that what?
School Wires.
Schoolwires.
It's the
Okay,
parent company is Blackboard.
okay, so it's a Blackboard, okay.
I think what Charlie had said about putting the onus on folks to reach out and have to take that step, because I personally don't want to create a whole budget and tie you guys down to translating everything. I think, you know, that whatever is existing that you're able to do is great, but I don't want to spend a whole fortune on going in a whole different direction. And if somebody reaches out and they need to, that's great, yeah. If not, there's
Well,
not.
it's part of our compliance. We are required by laws and regulations to translate for families who request it.
Yeah, I'm all for that, but I'm not, I don't want to anticipate and put a whole budget forth of something that you're thinking someone wants to have. Let's let the person say, hey, I'd like to have this.
If the availability is there, then that's fine, and then a request is granted.
So, I just think it looks so nice. It's so
Thank you.
clean, and I'm so happy that the headers are always the same, because I can't stand when you get to one page and then everything changes at the top. It looks really, really good. Nice work. I love it.
Nice job.
Well done.
Great, well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done.
That's awesome. I can't imagine the sense of accomplishment. So next we have acting on the Falmouth High School chorus trip to New York City in April. Where's my...
How's everyone?
Hi.
I'm Steve Edwards, I'm the finance department head for Falmouth Public Schools, and this is Paige Taylor.
Hello, I'm the choral director at the high school.
And we're here looking for your permission to go forward with our trip in April. We try to hold a chorus trip on the opposite years we do a band trip. We just took the band kids out to, oh gosh, where did we end up? Chicago. Thank you. And it was a wonderful trip and a big success. And I'm hoping that we can do the same thing with the chorus program once again. We've provided you all, I think, with an itinerary, yes?
Yep.
So you'll see that the dates are between April 13th and 15th, which puts them in school vacation for next year. And they are going to be in competition. And right now, we only have tentative numbers. I'll certainly let Ms. Taylor give you some specifics, but just the general rundown is that we're looking at approximately somewhere between 55 and maybe 65 kids.
That was the max
is
based
what
on the
we're thinking.
enrollment for next year.
And 5 chaperones. I'll be going on the trip. We've had great discussion about, how to run the trips here in Falmouth and what we sort of expect. And so, like the Chicago trip, I'll be attending, and I think the rest should go to you.
Sure. So we have decided to do the festivals of music. I know last time the choirs traveled, they did sort of a master class and touring, but I think performance and adjudication is really important for the students to get some feedback from, it's really experts in my field, people who teach college choirs and teach at very well-known high school programs across the country. So I think that's really important for our students to have that feedback from other educators, other judges, and experts in their field besides just me, all the time telling them these same things. And I think it really gives the students something to work towards besides our concerts. And because it's every 2 years, it's nice to have that break in between to sort of, if you have a building year like we had this year because I was new, it'll be great that this year I can hit the ground running with those students that I know and build them up to this opportunity. So we chose New York. The boosters decided that would be the most cost effective for our group. The price would be about $769 per student. And the chaperones pay half of that, and then Steve and I would be there as well, so there will be 7 adults total, all quarried through the VIPS office. And we're looking to spend 3 days there as a bus trip, and we have a pretty loaded schedule for the students. We've talked about not having a lot of downtime is always the best for these trips, so that the students are tired at the end of the day and they want to go to bed when they get back to their hotel rooms. And we do, through the company that we're using, Perkins Travel, it's a company that Steve has worked with in the past and has a great relationship with the agent, Lisa. Security guards do come with the package, so they're on site in the hallways of the hotels, so that way if a student comes out of a room for some reason, they could say, hey, where are you going? And then check in with one of us or a chaperone to let them know. So we're really excited about the opportunity. We have a lot of different opportunities for students that I hope they wouldn't get unless they were traveling with us in this trip. So we've gotten a chance for them to tour Radio City Music Hall, to do the Top of the Rock, to see a Broadway show, which is great. The three that we are looking at doing are Aladdin, Anastasia, and Wicked, all content that's appropriate for students of this level. And then we have a couple other things like a tour of Madame Tussauds. And then the really interesting thing this year, Festivals of Music is doing their award ceremony on the USS Intrepid, which is really interesting. So the students get to tour that and meet the astronauts during their award ceremony on Sunday. So we think we have a nice smattering of things for them to do, both musical and historical, that pertain to the city. So we hope it'll generate a lot of interest for students too.
I've stayed at that Saddlebrook Marriott's.
Oh, yeah. That's close to where the festivals are.
It's right
It's
by-
good.
It is, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
For
get,
traffic.
traffic's a little
Traffic is
tricky
dicey,
sometimes,
yeah.
but more or less, it's a good place to be, yeah.
Can you speak to any scholarship money that may be available for
Sure.
some kids? That's one issue. And then the other issue is any medical issues or concerns for kids who have signed up thus far?
So we don't have anybody signed up thus far. So once we have the sign-up list, we run that list by the nurse, and we make sure that everybody is qualified to be there. In the event that there is some concern, I'll be involved in that process. We usually sit down with the principal and just talk it out. Just want to make sure that we know, confidentially what's going on. Again, if it is confidential information, it's usually carried just between the director, myself, and the parent, just to keep our eyes open, As for scholarship, the Choral Boosters work very, very hard to plan and organize and facilitate a number of fundraisers throughout the year. I believe we had some listed here. For example, the Christmas tree sales, the pie sales, the a cappella fest, and cabaret night are parts of that. Occasionally, when we've done trips, we've even run car washes, and sometimes a creative idea will come around on the table for which we want to move forward. So we offer every kid an opportunity to participate in those fundraisers, especially those that perhaps can't afford this trip. Now, we mentioned, we were saying $769. It could fluctuate to as much as $850, $845. It could fluctuate that way, depending on whether the number decreases. So the fewer kids that go, the higher the price goes. So we want to make sure that we're ballparking and introducing this trip that way to parents as well. So if they say, no, we can't do it, well, at least we now have a real number to start playing with. But the Choral Boosters work very, very hard to set money aside as well, as best they can, to make sure every kid that wants to go on the trip can go.
Thank you.
Yeah, John.
I'd like to put forward the motion that we approve the Falmouth High School chorus trip to New York City, April 13th to 15th, 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? I had one other thought, and I think, do the chaperones need to be fingerprinted as well as Corey's?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, because you had said Corey, and I just wanted to make sure that they were actually fingerprinted.
Yes.
Any other discussion besides mine? All in favor of approving the trip to New York City for next April?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So early.
Anybody wanna go?
Nice to be playing.
Then you want to chaperone?
Do you need a nurse?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we have acting on our non-union clerical COLA, and this is with my apologies because we had talked about it in our last executive session, and we do need to vote on it in public.
And I would recommend that you approve the 2.25% COLA for the non-union clerical staff. It is a number that aligns with the recently negotiating bargaining units, and I think it's fair to apply that to our non-union clerical people.
I'll make a motion to act on the 2.25 COLA increase for non-union clerical.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, unanimous, thank you. Next we have a lot of acting today. Acting on foundation budget resolution. This was the one we had discussed last time. at our last meeting, but we decided everybody wanted to have a little bit of time to think about it before we did anything.
So I did reach out to Dylan Fernandez, and he said that he is in support of this.
That's your
My piece.
contribution. Excellent.
I did reach out to David Vieira. He said he had some concerns relative to funding and would be willing to speak with the committee as a whole. But he is in end of year fiscal meetings this week and just wasn't going to happen this week.
So I will leave it to the committee whether or not you want to take this up or not. We don't have to vote on it. It's our choice.
This is for the new formula, and this is for additional dollars for educating students, correct?
All right, going once.
I said yes. Yeah, they can.
Well, I support the Foundational Budget Review Commission, what they've put forward. But it's all about how comfortable we feel as a committee to vote on this and say that we're supporting it. I feel that if you got a chance to read the document, it really does go into details about areas that we've really been missing funding. So I think that it's really important to put that message forward. But I think what Patrick had mentioned is that it will obviously go in some revision stages, and this is just the start of the process right now.
It's not committing us to anything.
No, it's not committing us to anything.
And it doesn't mean that we would support those revisions.
No.
We would see those revisions at that time and reassess.
And really, it's all above our pay grade anyway. It's just a matter of stating publicly whether or not we support the effort.
Did it say, remind me, because I did read the bill, but you are much more versed in this than I. Did it say where their revenue source was for this? No. So we don't know where it's pulling dollars from.
It said that we would need
That
more money.
a lot more money would be needed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is all it
So-
says.
Right.
Yeah, but it didn't say where it was coming
Okay,
from.
because that's what I read, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing
Yeah.
something completely obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that although no one really has anything negative to say about it, there's also not enough interest to take a vote on it. If I'm wrong, correct me. Otherwise, we're moving on.
No, I would take a vote on it.
Oh, okay. Great. I'm
I just think
comfortable.
if there's more money designated for education, and obviously this is going to take time, but if you can give kids more dollars and cents, I don't know why we wouldn't at least support it. Now again, from a length of time of when it's going to be passed, we may be old and gray. But the reality of it is at least we're supporting something that's going to benefit kids and benefit education.
All right, so is that a motion, Bill?
It's a motion.
Okay, is there a second for Bill's motion to support the foundation budget resolution? Andrea? Any other discussion?
I'm just concerned about the funding source.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think there's some suppositions within the mission statement of the group saying that the system is flawed and whatnot, and that it's failing already, which I don't agree with those suppositions. And that, to me, it's another layer of government now that is sort of saying, okay, well, these funds were distributed, now we're going to come in and we know what's best for you. And another situation where someone says, I think I know what's best for you, and kind of versus what has already been determined from the existing group that's already there. So it's another kind of shadow government type thing, which I don't think is really necessary because we have the existing educational program, which is already there, where it's set and it moves forward.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but my understanding of it was that the legislature said that they thought the system was broken and asked people to look at how it was broken. Is that right?
Correct. This
Okay.
is the.
It's not an outside entity. This is a group that the legislature said
It's their own
it's
commission.
their own group.
Right.
It's
The
them,
legislature's going forward with this regardless if we support it or not.
maybe, right?
I don't know.
We don't know.
But I
We don't
think the big message is that times have changed, demographics have changed, education has changed, and we need to move with that change and provide more funding for the needs within our schools. School systems have changed. We're embracing all within our schools, and we need to be able to have the funds to do it.
And I also share that concern about a revenue stream and what we might be taking the money from. But the things that I would be very concerned that the money would be being taken away from, we're also adding a lot of those responsibilities into the schools to deal with a lot more societal issues within the schools. So I think that kind of, in my mind, levels that for me, because we need more money to deal with more issues.
We definitely need more money to deal with more issues. Agreed, social issues are not what they were, but I'm pretty concerned as to where it's coming from. I just think it just seems kind of gray. I would just like a little more clarity.
And I think that's because they don't know.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can appreciate saying, this needs to be addressed and we don't know. I get it.
So, sorry?
So just a clarification. So if we're voting to do this resolution as the school committee to, say that we support this, we're not saying that we're supporting them taking money from any areas. We're just saying that we acknowledge that things need to change.
We recognize that the recommendations that they're making are important, and we would like our legislature to follow suit. That's how I understand it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right, so with that in mind.
Details.
Right. Okay. All in favor, we have a motion and a second, so all in favor of approving the foundation budget resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Any abstentions?
I think I have to abstain
Okay.
with just funding.
It passed, right? Did I count right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It passes. Awesome. Next, act on implementing MMA, which is not Mass Maritime, which is how I read it the first time.
Mixed martial arts.
Or mixed martial arts. So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find, Patrick, what color is yours? Here it is. It's the Municipal Modernization Act. It's in, the information is in Patrick's report, the blue page.
Thank you.
So this is what we had talked about before. We just wanted to clarify it with legal and make sure that that it was okay with the town to have one person sign the bills. So what we had talked about was that there would be an email that goes out that says the bills are ready. Everyone is welcome always to come and see what's in them, but only one person would be required to sign them and send them on, and then we would get a report in the next meeting. So this language, the bold, is the language that we would need a motion and approve. And in the parentheses, where it says put in school committee member's name, that alternate person, according to our subcommittee list, is Bill Ryder. So Walter would be the primary person, and if he is unavailable, then Bill would step in and sign. Are there any questions about this? Okay. Question?
No, just to clarify that this basically says that we have all the rights to be able to do this.
Yes.
And I do believe that this would be a lot easier for us to get those warrants moving. I know how hard everybody works to try to get us all in here to sign.
And can you just clarify, there was some discussion that I think needed to follow up on the report and how that gets reported to us.
On what the report will look like at the following meeting. So it would be...
It would be a simple number that bills totaling X amount of dollars have been signed off and approved and have gone through a checks and balance process. That's basically all it is.
And the bills are still available
Yep,
to come in
absolutely.
and view. Will we get a heads up when they are?
I think the process that was suggested was an email will go out
Okay.
saying,
Yep.
hey, we've got a bill schedule
Just like
going
we
out
got
there.
now.
Just like we get now,
Yeah.
just, okay.
We just don't all have to come over.
You don't all have to run over.
Could you walk me through so what's the difference between what it is now versus what it was?
So right now, we need a quorum to sign every stack of bills, and this would designate Walter as our bill signer. So although we could have more than one person sign it, we only need one because we're designating him as responsible to do that for us. And then at the next meeting, we'll see the report of how much
dollar
money
amount.
we had just authorized
What the bills were.
when
Yeah, dollar amount, that-
when Walter
Not what
signs
they
it. And if
were,
he can't make it, then
just
Just the dollar
They
amount.
were.
Just the dollar
Dollar
amount.
amount.
But you can access the bills. We could access the bills anytime you
Anytime.
have it ready.
Yeah, because I do like the physicality of seeing
Sure.
what the bills were and things.
Yeah.
can walk
And
into
some
it.
people do, and you can certainly still, like, take a look. And I imagine if we're here, like if it was a meeting like tonight, we would all be here, we could all look.
Yep.
It just won't require Anne Marie to chase us down and beg people to get out of their pajamas at 8 o'clock and come sign the bills. But that's the idea. And there is a provision in the law to allow this to happen. We're not making it up. Is that good?
That's good, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm well out of my pajamas by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That's where we diverge right there.
I work from home, John.
Very
So-
envious.
Can I put a motion forward?
So it would be this, oh, I know, sorry. Good luck.
Yeah.
In accordance with the provision,
Put your glasses on.
okay, I'm making a motion to support the Municipal Modernization Act, is that right? Or to, for us? Okay. In accordance with the provision of Massachusetts General Laws, C-41, S-56, as amended, the school committee designates Walter Crotty and alternate Bill Ryder as its members to approve bills to be transmitted to the town accountant for payment, and he shall provide the committee with a report of all bills so approved at the first meeting of the committee following such action. So who is he? I'm sorry, I should.
It's Walter, but
Walter.
Patrick will
We'll give you the
give that
number.
to him.
But it'll be
Yeah.
Walter who will be ultimately providing that information for us.
We'll submit it to the school committee.
Yes.
It'll probably just be in the
I
packet.
have to
Yeah.
say, you have the
Okay.
best name ever for that type.
Right?
I know you do.
Ryder.
Bill for
Can we get a second before we have
make a
to
second.
make,
Well,
thank
that's
you,
what we
Melissa,
didn't
before we
say.
have to make somebody read the whole thing. Any other discussion about it? All right, all in favor, we'll skip right to the end. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great, passes unanimous. And thank you guys for doing that, because that's gonna be great. I'm very appreciative.
I guess it should be William there, right?
Oh, yeah, William.
It's Bill.
It sounds better for the bills. All right, next we have acting on the capital plan. Patrick, do you want to say anything about this?
Sure. So there was a spreadsheet that was provided to you. This is something that, for folks that have been around for a while, you've seen versions of this previously. It's updated. We try to update it every May or June. In August, I have to submit a couple of documents to the town for capital projects. They sort of give me a guideline of up to $1 million in submittals for amounts that then get allocated, hopefully at the November town meeting. And this is just a sort of a way to allow the school committee to continue to help set priorities for what projects are important to the community. As an example of this, I think in previous plans that the field project was a few years down the road. That's been pushed up, as you can tell with this. And so the requests that we're going to be submitting in August are really focused on the update and design component, which we think is about a $50,000 request for the field. CDM will be providing us a proposal next week. We have some prioritization of boiler work at Morse Pond and East Falmouth. Those are things that we'd like to try to get done. We've got vendors coming in to give us some general estimates on that. And then, if possible, we'd like to do some repair work at the Mullen Hall cupola, some carpentry, roofing work, repair work there. So that all would total up to about $1 million. So it's just a motion would be something very simple, like a motion to approve the updated fiscal year 18 capital plan. Additional information that comes in over time through like a campus master plan that we've been talking about would go to updating this plan. When we get vendor updates, when we get DPW updates, we sort of update this. When the town tells us, hey, you're being too aggressive in terms of how much money is going to be available, we then spread it out. So the idea that it's not a 10-year plan simply means that I know there's additional information coming over the next 6 months to a year that is probably going to spread this out a little bit. So it's a working document, and I'm happy to talk with anybody about it. We do meet with the budget subcommittee on this information.
So since this isn't the first time that I've seen this, the piece that is always confusing to me is that the numbers at the top, like if you look at year one, it's a $4 million number, and then there's a $1 million number lower down. And that piece is that there's only $1 million at the November town meeting that fits into the town capital plan. Anything that's above that would be things that would go to the voters.
Correct. So any project above $1 million has to go to the voters. So that's what we're suggesting, is sort of giving a signal that this field project would go to the voters next May, assuming we want to keep moving it forward.
And that down the road, there are roofs that need to be replaced, and we can't do that within our budget or within the capital November town meeting. But I just think that's
and this document then gets published, like the DPW and some other departments have documents that get published in that town meeting booklet. It's usually at the end of that booklet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the annual.
Which is really helpful, because then people don't feel like we're coming out of left field. Leah?
So how did this get established as to where the priorities are?
Yep. A lot of conversations with our sort of facilities guys, or lead facilities guys, who have sort of most experience there. Some of the pricing, about a year or two ago, we had an architect take a look at the building envelopes of our oldest buildings, and so some of the pricing that they spec'd out in the prioritization that they mentioned came from there. So it's lots of different sources feed into this, and then we know there's going to be additional information coming in. So you just sort of make, okay, the last time we did a similar type of work, it cost this, so you sort of make some general estimates. You really have very broad view of what's happening 5 to 8 years out. You sort of have a closer view of what's happening, a better understanding of what the pricing is going to be over the next year or two or three.
So it's from kind of in-house perspective and then an outside perspective as to what the building needs are.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
They helped us establish the priorities and which buildings needed the most.
It's really good.
And that was an architecture firm, right?
Yeah, we've had an architecture firm. The ESCO project helped us prioritize some of the boiler work. So there's lots of resources that go into prioritization, and then it's just sort of on the ground. Hey, can we prioritize this boiler sooner rather than that boiler, because that one's been giving us a problem, kind of thing,
Any other, sorry, Andrea and then John?
So this was an update. So is the field the only change since this is the first one I've seen?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Mullenholt cupola may have been pushed out another year or so. People have been asking to move that forward because it's raining on people.
And then can you just, Kelly was explaining how to read this, and then I see that one extra, is that Lawrence seats? And what
Very
is that
good,
floating
good
out
pick,
there?
good pick. That is not going to be a school department request, but we have discussions with the town about how that request should go forward as probably a separate article that either the school committee or maybe the FinCom will recommend. We've just sort of priced out the project a little bit.
It's for the auditorium seats.
To fix the
Yeah.
seats so that they
That
don't.
are very old.
Yes.
That's putting it mildly.
That's
can tell why it was floating.
Yeah, we don't, it is not, it's just showing it's not 100% priority of the school department, but we understand the community believes that it's
And we've been having
important.
conversations
Yeah.
about it.
John?
I motion that we vote on the capital plan for fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 24 as submitted by Patrick Murphy.
Second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Melissa. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, awesome. I love that it goes out so far. Makes me so happy to look that far in the future. Act on surplus text. Switch color over.
It's white.
Surplus text.
It's white.
Here we go.
So that's not on like student cell phone bills or anything?
Whose books? Who's got this one? Do we have anything?
The inventory, and the Office of Curriculum has asked that the foreign language textbooks be identified on the enclosed spreadsheet to be declared surplus.
Is there a motion to declare these books as surplus?
I'll motion.
Thanks, John. You're on a roll. A second?
I'll second.
Oh,
Oh, you beat me to it.
Bill. Any discussion? Oh, sorry.
But I guess it looks like these are in very, very poor and poor condition, so it looks like they definitely need to be replaced. Now, with the new textbooks, they are actual texts, or are they, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, unanimous. Routine business. The minutes from 6:27. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 27th? Don't everybody jump.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from
What the
June
updates and
27th.
schools that need to be done.
Thanks, Leah. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Andrea. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Our superintendent's report.
Okay, just a couple of quick things. I put in my report that we have been doing the interviews for the Director of Human Resources, and I think we have one additional interview that will happen, and we'll make a decision on that hopefully quickly. And the Director of Physical Education, Health and Wellness has been posted, and we're just waiting till that closes so that we can start looking at filling that position. And then I have just a quick update on administrative structure for the next 8 or 10 weeks. I'll be going out on medical leave in August, and Sonia Tellier will be acting on my behalf in that time, and we have a plan to keep things moving and make it as seamless as possible, and I will be back as soon as I possibly can. So thank you.
We'll be thinking about you in the meantime. Any questions for Nancy? All right. Moving right along. Sonia, anything you'd like to highlight from your report?
So Jane Baker kindly shared some of the artwork that has started to come forward from students from the partnership, the Old Stone Dock Association. And some of the additional artwork is going to be displayed as part of the bicentennial this summer. And I think there are going to be some pieces that will continue on into the early fall. The two pieces that you see here were two that were shared at the Heritage Celebration dinner. But there is a range of works, and they are all pretty amazing. So you'll be able to see those over the course of summer And then also some of the students created the High Boom poems, similar to what they had done on the trip that Ryan had showcased earlier through the video. So just carrying on that tradition and really sharing their work. Thank you.
That's awesome. Any questions for Sonia? Awesome. Thank you. Zach, anything you want to highlight?
Sure. In my briefing this week, I mentioned the annual Title I program evaluation that we go through as part of our requirements with the Title I grant. At your spot today was the program evaluation for your review. I was hoping to get it to you sooner than today, so I apologize if you haven't had a chance to go through it. In Falmouth Public Schools, 3 of our schools qualify for Title I funding. The Mullen Hall School, T-Ticket, and East Falmouth. Essentially, the purpose of Title I is to provide school districts with additional money above and beyond what they can support to help address the academic needs of students who seem to be struggling, to narrow that achievement gap, to hit them early with interventions so that way they can get caught up with their peers. Part of the state's requirements of the grant is that annually we do a program evaluation. This has always been done in the district, but last year was the first year where we actually put it into a report to share with the committee and with the community. As soon as the curriculum and instruction website is up and running with all of our parts that we need to put in place, this will be put on the Title I section for anybody to see. I know last year when we looked at this, people were really compelled by the parent guardian survey, which is part of this, where parents are asked to answer a few questions about what they've noticed about their child's progress since they've been part of the Title I program. And not all students are part of Title I. They have to qualify based on some assessments we do in teacher input. And so like last year, the parent information that they share is really compelling. So we're really proud of the work we do with Title I. And we're monitoring any news we hear about our grant for next year. We find out in August what our allocation amount is. As part of the program evaluation, I share what our funding has looked like over time. Not surprising, you do see that we're going in a trend where the federal funding is being cut to the state, and then the state's sending it down to the districts is being reduced. So we'll wait until August to see what we're working with for next year, and then we'll make adjustments based on the amount of funding we have, and then adjustments based on the data we collected through the program evaluation.
Great. Thank you. Questions for Zach? Leah?
So 3 of our elementary schools are receiving Title I funds.
Yes.
Now, why is it that Morris Pond, Lawrence, and the high school don't receive Title I funds?
It's based on free and reduced numbers for the population at that school. So it's a certain percentage that you have to reach a threshold for. Those 3 schools, the poverty rate and the free and reduced lunch has surpassed the threshold, and the other schools have not.
Because it does seem a little strange when we have 3 of our elementary schools coming into our Morris Pond, and we're not able to qualify for
Correct.
Title I.
That's strange.
It is, yeah. But it's
We must be just very close.
because the
in those
percentage
schools.
for the targeted assistant, if they were all school-wide, we probably would make that mark.
Right.
Based on the numbers.
Well, each school has their own percentage.
Right.
Yeah.
So if, the percentage at any of the other schools shifted, maybe Lawrence would become eligible, and you just don't know.
Now, and what is for school-wide, what is the percentage that you need to?
40%.
I was going to say
40%,
probably in the
okay.
30s.
The only difference between targeted assistance and school-wide is in a targeted assistance program, we have to provide documentation to the state to tell them how we identified the students that were eligible to receive services. In a school-wide program, they assume that all students are eligible, and we don't need to provide justification as to how we selected the students to receive supports.
Can I ask one more follow-up question? For the percentage, for targeted assistance, what does the percentage have to be for targeted?
I want to say 20%, but I can double-check that for you.
I have a question related to that same thing. So, do you think there's anything to it that when the kids start to get older, like when they get to Morris Pond, that they just don't bring that paperwork back? Or do we really believe that we're that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and it's based more on the town census
Oh, okay.
than the applications.
Okay. Thanks.
So I think next year they base the amount of funding we receive on the 2002 2014. No, this year was based on the 2014 census, and next year's funding will be based on the 2015 census.
Any other questions for Zach?
Well, I was just thinking you could just do the numbers on it to see what the percentages were at each school, and then like add in what North is and the percentage of that. And then if you did put them all together to see, and if there was, if it still would be the outweighing it, then it might be a paper thing.
Right.
But if it is that North just brings up
It's
the
just
Q's that much, then there is no probably paper issue.
Yeah,
I would think, if you know, you probably could do those numbers.
yeah. Any other questions for Zach?
Statistically, North.
So there's a lot in here, so would it be all right if we ask questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, another time? Or email them, because I can't absorb that fast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie?
Our special education extended year services are up and running and going very well.
Yeah.
How many teachers? So I see there's 5 tutors, right? And then there's the other specialists here, but how many actual teachers?
Oh, God, with the teacher assistants, I want to say with the TAs, probably about 15 to 20
15.
total.
Yeah, and then
Plus
the
all
addition
the
of
other
all of these.
personnel.
Okay.
Any other questions for Charlie? Thank you, Charlie.
61 kids, 75.
Cindy?
Excellent.
We already saw the website. What else do you have that you'd like to highlight? Anything?
Just that, just before the school year ended, we signed on with the Massachusetts Student Privacy Alliance. And that is going to help us advance our work around student privacy efforts and vendors and third-party vendors. We've been trying to do some of this on our own, and it's very time-consuming. So this is going to help us with those efforts.
Any questions for Cindy? Leah?
Sorry. Will this be coming to the policy subcommittee? Is there a policy that will have to be addressed now?
No,
with
there
this?
isn't
Okay.
necessarily a policy that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
A lot of,
for
I'm sorry, a lot of school districts in the state have joined on, and basically we're able to kind of pool our resources to do some of this work.
Any other questions for Cindy? Thanks, Cindy. And Patrick, did you have anything else besides?
No, you
two
said
things
yes
we already did?
to, you said yes to both of them. I'm putting
All
them
right.
on the head.
Any last questions for Patrick?
No.
Thank you. Report from the chair. I have 2 things. I have the MASC Summer Institute, which is not conveniently located for us. It's in Marlboro, but the topics some of them are very interesting. If anyone wants to take this and take a look at it, see it's the end of July. And then the other thing is that I'm not certain that we have all done this. Every member is supposed to fill out this form for certificate of receipt of open meeting law materials, which I'm pretty certain we all have had. I just don't think we've all filled out this form. So sending it around.
Okay.
Oops, I should keep one and send the rest around. And it basically just says that you have received the information about the open meeting law and you understand the consequences of violating it. And then these have to stay on file with Sharon, I think. So I did a really interesting open meeting law webinar, and this was one of the things that was discussed in it, among a lot of other really interesting things. It was super informative, and I actually have the slide deck if anyone would like it, or if we could maybe add it to our retreat agenda. I think it would be super helpful. I found it very helpful, so I just wanted to mention that. Reports from any other committee members? Any requests for follow-up information? Silent. That's it. We're done. Motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yay. Awesome. So our next meeting is not until our retreat. Thanks, guys.
August 22nd.
August 22nd.
1 o'clock.
Can you make it?
It's gonna be really hard. We're in a daycare with 7